Thank you. That's a bit of a challenge. About myself and the Portuguese Water Partnership, basically we're a cluster association promoting the international engagement of our members, which range from public and private companies to universities, research institutions, civil society organizations, and actually government agencies. Mutsen Mortada mentioned 4 topics that he would like to center the debate today. So that's my mission, is to check those 4 points. One was technology, second one, climate change and resilience, the third one, financing of infrastructure, and the fourth one, talent and resource availability. I'll focus on sharing with you the half problem that we have in Portugal. The expression half problem, I'll come back, we'll try to illustrate it via my comments. Let us start with talent and resource availability. As a youngster in the late 70s, early 80s, I used to get asked, what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I knew there were at least 4 industries that I didn't want to be engaged in. Yeah, because those were the boring professions at the time. Telephony companies, postal services, energy, and water. 3 of those industries have since become actually quite cool industries to work with. And water is getting there. Now, what we've seen at different times over these past decades is these industries were positively impacted by different mixes of the combination of competition, of the need for greater customer orientation, customer focus, of deregulation, of corporatization of service provision, and all of that. Okay? So to the extent that water, and I think it's getting there, at least in Portugal, and it will continue to be there, an increasingly challenging, inspiring, and cool industry for people to work with, I won't be too much worried about talent. Now, moving to technology. The problem in terms of technology, at least in terms of the way I see the Portuguese water sector, is that there is a lack of innovation, or no. The issue very frequently is that we have technologies that some utilities in Portugal or overseas have been using for 20 years, haven't yet been fully widespread. So what worries me is the speed at which technology dissemination takes place across the sector. Why? That's half the problem. We have 50% of the population which is served by, utilities that have the scale, the capabilities, the resources to be corporatized and professionally managed, okay? So that's the half of the problem that we don't have. Half the population is still fragmented by very small scale utilities, where you have perhaps in a small municipality of 2,000 people, not one engineer. The engineer is the man who needs to worry about water, needs to worry about transportation, cemeteries, and the summer festival, okay? So he doesn't get to attend conferences, he doesn't get to interact or to have the time or the resources to be up to date in adopting new technology. So as you'll see, I'll put a lot of emphasis on governance, regulation, and sector structure. So there, the big challenge, and this is to the extent that this is common in many other countries as it is, I think that's really a key barrier, combined with very conservative and risk-averse procurement practices by typically public utilities. Yeah, there's an asymmetry of incentives and risk aversion when it comes to that. Climate change and resilience. That will vary a lot. I won't try to say things which are universally applicable. In the specific case of Portugal, in my mind, it's very simple. Droughts, the pressure won't be on urban services. It will clearly be on agriculture, okay? So that will be fun politically. Now, when it comes to floods, a trend over the past 10 years, there is increasing pressure to make sure that water utilities not only manage water supply and wastewater, urban wastewater, but also integrate the management of stormwater, of rainwater, into their scope of service. In some cases, this may sound strange. In the case of Portugal, there were a lot of utilities where you had different entities managing wastewater and other ones, and typically the municipalities worrying about stormwater. Big debate is about on the financing model to recover the costs associated with stormwater. Okay, should that be on the tariff? Should there be some other sort of specific tax or cost recovery mechanism to ensure that? But stormwater was neglected for decades, but now it's clearly and increasingly on the agenda. Financing, again, half a problem. Nowadays, when it comes to water supply, we have cost recovery via tariffs close to 100%, and we're at 70 to 80% on wastewater. These percentages, I've been monitoring them for the past 20 years, started at roughly 60% for water and 30% for wastewater. That solved the problem. Again, let us remember, these are averages, which means that if your head is in the oven and your fridge in the refrigerator, you're on average at a good temperature. So we have problems of many utilities with cost recovery. Now the other problem, again, stems back to the fact that we don't really have a fully corporatized utility sector, regardless of then if the shareholders are public or private, that's a different debate, is that out of a set of legal constraints that are placed on public administration, even many of these utilities, even if they have full cost recovery, legally they just can't go to the bank. It has to be the municipality to do it. So, I mean, of course, Alistair Clark was talking about projects that involve hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. What I'm talking about is a utility that is still, many utilities that need perhaps €500,000. They're not going to talk to EBRD. They need to go to the local bank. Yeah? And they need to have a corporatized structure so that they're not volatile in terms of the political cycle of local mayors and elections and all that, to be able to come up to a normal financial institution with ultimately a bankable project. So in essence, that would be the comments that I would like to share with you on, at least in terms of the Portuguese sector, we see these 4 key topics. Thank you.
Thank you.